In the silent hours of a winter night, when the veil between worlds grows thin, a singular star blazed across the ancient sky, not merely a celestial body, but a cosmic proclamation, a testament to the profound connection between the heavens and earthly events that has guided humanity since our earliest awakenings. What truly transpired between the child Jesus and those mysterious figures we know as the Magi, the three wise men, after they presented their enigmatic gifts? The traditional narrative often ends with their arrival, leaving us to wonder about the deeper exchanges, the esoteric transmissions, and the astronomical wisdom that may have been shared in those sacred moments. "Look how the floor of heaven is thick, inlaid with patines of bright gold," wrote Shakespeare, intuiting the cosmic language that our ancestors read with fluency we have long forgotten. The Babylonian text of the Enuma Anu Enlil declares, "The signs in the sky, just as those on earth, give us signals." And in the hermetic wisdom, "As above, so below, as below, so above." These are not mere poetic flourishes, but acknowledgments of an ancient science, a system of knowledge that the Magi embodied and potentially transmitted during their enigmatic visit to the Christ child. The stars have always spoken to those with ears to hear. The Magi, those priest astronomers from the East, followed not just any star, but a specific celestial alignment that had profound significance in their cosmological understanding. Their journey did not end with the presentation of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Rather, this marked the beginning of a deeper exchange, a transmission of stellar wisdom that would later emerge in Jesus' teachings about the kingdom of heaven and the cosmic order. In this exploration, we delve beyond the familiar nativity scene into the aftermath, the days and perhaps weeks when these keepers of ancient stellar wisdom remained in the presence of the child who would become the Christ. What astronomical knowledge did they impart? What initiatory traditions did they represent? How did their celestial understanding influence the development of early Christianity? And most importantly, how can this forgotten connection between cosmic patterns and spiritual awakening illuminate our own path today? The answers lie written in the stars themselves, in forgotten manuscripts, in symbolic representations throughout the ancient world, and in the very structure of reality itself. For in understanding the true nature of the Magi's visit, we unlock a portal to our own cosmic heritage, a remembrance of how to read the heavenly script that continues to shine above us every night, patiently waiting for humanity to reclaim this lost language of light. The ancient Zoroastrian text Decode offers a haunting insight. The wise ones who study the stars do not merely predict earthly events. They participate in the cosmic dialogue between matter and spirit. Indeed, this dialogue, once fluent among our ancestors, awaits our renewed participation. Let us now venture into this forgotten conversation between the heavens and humanity, between the Magi and the Christ child, and between your own consciousness and the cosmic intelligence that pervades all existence. The story of the Magi, often simplified in contemporary retellings, represents one of history's most profound intersections of astronomy, spirituality, and the transfer of ancient wisdom. To fully grasp what transpired after their arrival, we must first understand who these figures truly were and the vast body of knowledge they carried from the East. The term Magi derives from the Persian magupati, referring to priests of the Zoroastrian tradition, though their lineage extends far beyond this single religious system. These were not merely astrologers in the modern sense, but custodians of a sophisticated astronomical science developed over millennia across Mesopotamia, Persia, and beyond. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote of them, "No sacrifice can be offered without a magus present," indicating their essential role as intermediaries between cosmic forces and earthly affairs. Archaeological evidence from Babylon and Uruk reveals clay tablets with detailed astronomical calculations dating back to the 8th century BCE. These tablets demonstrate not only observation of celestial bodies, but complex mathematical models predicting planetary movements with remarkable accuracy. The Magi inherited this astronomical tradition, refining it through generations of meticulous observation and calculation. The Persian epic Shahnameh describes the Magi as those who read the heavens like an open book, who understand the language spoken by the planets in their eternal dance. This poetic description belies the rigorous mathematical and observational discipline required of these priest-scientists. They maintained observatories across the Persian Empire, correlating celestial events with earthly patterns over centuries. What's particularly relevant to our exploration is that the Magi belonged to various mystery schools throughout the ancient Near East. These were not isolated traditions, but interconnected networks of knowledge preservation and transmission. The Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, the Egyptian temple of Thoth, the Mithraic mysteries of Persia, all shared astronomical foundations and initiatory practices designed to elevate human consciousness to cosmic awareness. Professor Francesca Rochberg, an authority on Babylonian astronomical texts, notes, "The ancient Mesopotamian approach to the heavens was not divided between what we would call astronomy and astrology. Celestial divination was a science, a systematic study of omens embedded in a complex understanding of planetary motions." This integration of the spiritual and the scientific characterized the knowledge the Magi would have carried to their encounter with Jesus. The historical context of their journey is equally significant. The region was experiencing significant political and religious transformation. The Roman Empire had expanded eastward, Hellenistic influence permeated traditional cultures, and messianic expectations were intensifying across multiple traditions. The Jewish diaspora had spread Hebraic concepts throughout the Near East, while Persian, Egyptian, and Greek mystery traditions were cross-pollinating in unprecedented ways. Evidence of this synthesis appears in documents like the Dead Sea Scrolls, particularly the astronomical texts discovered at Qumran that combine Babylonian mathematical astronomy with Jewish apocalyptic expectations. Similarly, the Greek magical papyri from Egypt demonstrate how astronomical knowledge merged with Judaic, Egyptian, and Hellenic spiritual practices. Some scholars, like Dr. Michael Molnar, proposed that the Magi were specifically tracking a rare celestial event, possibly a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the constellation of Pisces, which held particular significance in their astronomical tradition. Others, like astronomer Dr. David Hughes, suggest it may have been an unusual nova or perhaps a triple conjunction of Jupiter with the royal star Regulus. The Dominican theologian Thomas Aquinas offered yet another perspective. The star which led the Magi was not of the celestial stars, but a star formed anew for this purpose. This reflects an understanding that transcendental events may manifest through both natural cosmic patterns and supernatural interventions, a perspective that aligns with the Magi's worldview, which did not separate material and spiritual causation. What remains consistent across these varied perspectives is that the Magi recognized in these celestial signs the birth of a figure of cosmic significance, not merely a political messiah, but a being who embodied a new relationship between humanity and the cosmic order. As the hermetic text Asclepius states, "Do you not know, Asclepius, that Egypt is an image of heaven? The whole cosmos dwells here." This understanding that earthly events mirror cosmic patterns formed the philosophical framework for the Magi's journey. They came not merely to honor a newborn king, but to witness and participate in a cosmic realignment. Their gifts of gold, symbolizing divine kingship, frankincense, representing priestly function, and myrrh, signifying sacrifice and transcendence, reflected this multidimensional understanding. The Gnostic text Pistis Sophia suggests that certain mystery schools anticipated a figure who would unify fragmented spiritual traditions and restore direct communion between humanity and cosmic intelligence. The mathematician and philosopher Pythagoras, himself initiated in Egyptian mysteries, taught that certain individuals are born as embodiments of cosmic harmonies, living expressions of the mathematical patterns that govern reality. Against this rich historical and philosophical backdrop, we can now begin to explore what might have transpired after the Magi presented their gifts. An exchange largely absent from canonical texts, but preserved in fragments, symbols, and the astronomical elements that later emerged in Jesus' teachings. The Gospel of Matthew tells us the Magi were warned in a dream not to return to Herod, indicating their receptivity to non-ordinary states of consciousness, a characteristic of initiates in ancient mystery traditions. This subtle reference hints at the deeper dimensions of their encounter with the Christ child, an encounter that likely extended beyond the momentary presentation of gifts depicted in traditional imagery. In the days following their arrival, a profound exchange of knowledge would have naturally occurred, not as formal instruction to an infant, but as a transmission of stellar wisdom into the very field of consciousness that the Christ represented. This transmission manifested in several interrelated dimensions that we can now explore. The astronomical knowledge possessed by the Magi represented not merely observations of physical phenomena, but a sophisticated understanding of cosmic cycles and their relationship to human consciousness. At its foundation was the precession of the equinoxes, the gradual shift of the zodiacal constellations against the sun's position at the spring equinox, completing a full cycle approximately every 26,000 years. This great year, as Plato called it, was divided into 12 ages of roughly 2,160 years each. The Magi understood that humanity was transitioning from the age of Aries, symbolized by the ram in multiple traditions, to the age of Pisces, the fish, a transition marked by the very celestial conjunction they had followed to Bethlehem. Evidence for this understanding appears in early Christian symbolism. The fish became a central Christian symbol, while Jesus referred to his disciples as fishers of men. He fed multitudes with fish, and early Christians identified themselves with the Greek word ichthys, fish. These were not arbitrary symbols, but conscious acknowledgments of the cosmic age that was dawning. The 2nd century Christian theologian Clement of Alexandria, himself initiated into Greek mysteries before his conversion, wrote, "The heavens declare the glory of God in a language that has no speech nor words, yet their voice is heard." This reference to Psalm 19 reflects his understanding that cosmic patterns communicate divine intelligence through mathematical relationships rather than literal speech. A fragment attributed to the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, distinct from the more famous text discovered at Nag Hammadi, contains this provocative passage. Jesus said, "I will show you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, the celestial patterns upon which all earthly forms are modeled." While the authenticity of this fragment remains debated, it aligns with astronomical concepts that would have been transmitted by the Magi. The Magi would have shared their understanding of celestial mathematics, the geometric relationships between planetary movements that Pythagoras had earlier described as the music of the spheres. This mathematical harmony was not abstract theory, but a template for achieving harmony within human consciousness and society. When Jesus later taught, "The kingdom of heaven is within you, and as above, so below," he expressed this fractal relationship between cosmic and human dimensions, a core principle of the stellar wisdom the Magi embodied. His parables about seeds, growth, and cosmic harvests reflect astronomical cycles translated into accessible imagery, Particularly significant is the star imagery that permeates early Christian literature. The Book of Revelation describes Christ as the bright morning star, a direct reference to Venus, which represented divine wisdom in numerous ancient traditions. This stellar identification continues the thread of astronomical knowledge that began with the Magi's star. The Ophide diagram described by the early Christian writer Origen depicted a complex cosmological system used by certain Gnostic Christians. This diagram showed planetary spheres arranged in specific patterns, with symbols and passwords required for the soul's ascension, remarkably similar to Mithraic and Hermetic cosmological systems that would have been familiar to the Magi. Archaeological evidence from early Christian sites reveals subtle astronomical alignments. The 3rd century Christian burial chambers in the Vatican necropolis are oriented to catch the first rays of the equinox sunrise, a practice derived from earlier mystery traditions that understood equinoxes as powerful moments of cosmic balance. In examining the Nag Hammadi Library, Gnostic Christian texts discovered in 1945, we find numerous references to celestial archons, cosmic hierarchies, and stellar influences that bear striking similarities to Persian and Babylonian astronomical systems. The discourse on the 8th and 9th specifically describes a meditative ascent through planetary spheres to achieve cosmic consciousness, a practice well established in the mystery traditions from which the Magi came. The Magi would have recognized in the Christ child not merely a spiritual teacher, but a cosmic event, an embodiment of the mathematical perfection they had observed in the heavens. Their presence at his birth created a living connection between ancient astronomical wisdom and the new spiritual dispensation that was beginning. Beyond the mathematical and observational astronomy, the Magi were custodians of specific initiatory practices designed to align human consciousness with cosmic intelligence. These practices formed the 2nd dimension of their transmission to the Christ child and his family. Central to these practices was what the Mithraic mysteries called the ascent of the soul through the planetary spheres, a meditative technique that guided consciousness through successively higher states, each associated with a planet. This practice later appeared in modified form in certain Gnostic Christian communities, particularly those influenced by the teachings of Valentinus and Basilides. A text attributed to the 2nd century Christian teacher Theodotus describes this practice. The initiate learns first to still the body as the earth is still at its center, then to regulate breath as the seas ebb and flow, then to observe thoughts as clouds form and dissolve, and finally to identify with the unchanging awareness that, like the fixed stars, witnesses all without attachment. And this graduated path of meditation bears remarkable similarities to what Jesus would later teach about praying in secret and finding the pearl of great price within. His 40 days in the wilderness parallels the initiatory seclusion required in Persian and Egyptian mystery schools. The Magi would have transmitted techniques for interpreting dreams and visions, techniques evident in Joseph's subsequent ability to receive guidance through dreams, allowing the Holy Family to escape Herod's persecution by fleeing to Egypt. This dream consciousness represented a particular state of receptivity to cosmic intelligence that the mystery traditions had cultivated for millennia. Archaeological discoveries at Qumran revealed that certain Jewish communities practiced astronomical observations connected with meditative states. The fragmented text 4Q318, known as the Brontologion, correlates thunder and lightning with zodiacal positions and spiritual insights, exactly the kind of integrated spiritual astronomical practice characteristic of the traditions from which the Magi came. The Byzantine historian Nicephorus records an intriguing tradition that Mary, the mother of Jesus, preserved certain esoteric teachings from the Magi and later shared them with close disciples. While this account emerges centuries after the events, it reflects a persistent understanding that the Magi's visit involved more than the momentary presentation of gifts. What's particularly significant is how these initiatory practices were adapted rather than simply adopted in early Christianity. The cosmic ascent became less about planetary deities and more about states of consciousness. The mathematical contemplation of celestial harmonies evolved into parables about cosmic order. The mystery teachings became accessible to all rather than reserved for a select few. This democratization of spiritual practice, making universal what had been exclusive, represents one of Jesus's most revolutionary contributions. Yet the substance of the practices themselves, their astronomical foundations and cosmic orientation, bears the unmistakable imprint of the wisdom traditions represented by the Magi. The third dimension of the Magi's transmission concerned the symbolic language of astronomical phenomena, a universal system of meaning expressed through celestial events. This symbolic dimension later emerged in Jesus's extensive use of parables and metaphors drawn from nature. In the hermetic tradition, closely related to the astronomical wisdom of the Magi, symbolic understanding was considered essential for cosmic knowledge. As the text Definitions of Hermes Trismegistus to Asclepius states, the symbol is the bridge between the visible and invisible, between the known and the unknown. Through symbols, cosmic intelligence communicates with human intelligence. This symbolic approach appears throughout Jesus's teachings. His parables about seeds, growth cycles, weather patterns, and seasonal changes all reflect the cosmic symbolism the Magi would have transmitted. When he spoke of being wise as serpents, he invoked the ancient symbol of Ophiuchus, the serpent-bearer constellation associated with healing wisdom in multiple traditions. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, who extensively studied the astronomical symbolism in Gnostic Christianity, observed, "These symbols are not invented but discovered. They emerge from the collective unconscious as expressions of universal patterns." The Magi, as initiates of ancient mystery schools, were trained in both recognizing and interpreting these universal patterns. Particularly notable is how celestial symbolism was integrated into early Christian art. Catacomb paintings frequently feature the Good Shepherd, surrounded by zodiacal imagery. The Chi-Rho symbol, representing Christ, bears remarkable similarity to earlier astronomical notations for the celestial pole around which all stars appear to rotate, the still point in the cosmic movement. The Byzantine historian Eusebius recorded that certain early Christian communities maintained astronomical observations as part of their spiritual practice, timing prayers and ceremonies to celestial events, a practice that would eventually evolve into the liturgical calendar, but originally reflected the integration of astronomical knowledge transmitted by traditions like those of the Magi. This symbolic dimension extended to understanding human psychology as well. The various personality types and spiritual challenges Jesus addressed in his teachings parallel the temperaments associated with planetary influences in Persian and Babylonian traditions. His ability to read individuals, to perceive their essential nature and specific spiritual needs, reflects the psychological insight developed in mystery traditions that correlated human temperaments with cosmic patterns. The Church Father Origen, writing in the 3rd century, explicitly acknowledged this symbolic dimension. There is in the divinity of the Word a certain quality which responds to each stage of human progress and adapts itself to our free will, appearing to each person according to their disposition. This recognition of how cosmic intelligence adapts to individual consciousness echoes the astronomical wisdom the Magi embodied. Even Jesus's teaching method, using parables that contain multiple layers of meaning, accessible according to the listener's level of understanding, mirrors the approach used in mystery schools to communicate astronomical knowledge. As he explicitly stated, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given." This statement reflects the graduated revelation characteristic of initiatory traditions, but transforms it by making the determining factor not formal initiation, but receptivity of consciousness. The Magi's symbolic astronomical language thus evolved from an exclusive system to an inclusive one, while preserving its essential function of translating cosmic patterns into human understanding. The fourth dimension of the Magi's transmission concerned prophetic timing, the recognition of how cosmic cycles correspond to historical developments and spiritual opportunities. This dimension manifested in Jesus' numerous references to the fullness of time and the recognition of spiritual seasons. The Dead Sea Scrolls reveal that certain Jewish communities maintained detailed astronomical calendars that correlated celestial events with expected messianic appearances. The text known as 11Q13 specifically links cosmic cycles with the anticipated arrival of a messianic figure. The Magi, coming from traditions with similar apocalyptic expectations based on astronomical cycles, would have recognized in Jesus' birth the convergence of multiple cosmic timelines. When Jesus later taught about recognizing the signs of the times, he was not speaking metaphorically, but referring to a specific understanding of how cosmic patterns manifest in historical moments, precisely the understanding that guided the Magi to his birthplace. His reference to wars and rumors of wars and celestial signs preceding spiritual transformation directly parallels the astronomical historical correlations developed in Persian and Babylonian traditions. The early Christian writer Papias preserved a saying attributed to Jesus that does not appear in canonical Gospels. "There will come days when each planet shall be in its proper power and position, and then the hidden wisdom will be revealed to all." While the authenticity of this statement cannot be verified, it reflects the understanding of cosmic timing that characterized the wisdom traditions from which the Magi came. Particularly significant is Jesus' reference to "this generation shall not pass away until all these things take place." Astronomically, a generation often referred to a period of approximately 72 years, the time required for the precession of the equinoxes to move 1 degree. This astronomical understanding of generational time provides context for what otherwise appears to be a failed prophecy. The Book of Revelation, with its elaborate cosmic imagery and cyclical structure, represents the fullest expression of this prophetic timing based on astronomical patterns. Its symbols, 7 stars, 4 living creatures, 24 elders, directly parallel astronomical features recognized in Persian, Babylonian, and Egyptian systems that informed the Magi's understanding. This prophetic dimension extended beyond predicting specific events to recognizing opportune moments for spiritual development, what the Greeks called kairos, as distinct from chronological time. Jesus' frequent references to being watchful and recognizing the right moment reflect this kairos consciousness that the Magi would have cultivated through their astronomical observations. Having explored the multidimensional wisdom the Magi would have transmitted, we now turn to how this stellar knowledge can be practically applied in our lives today. For this astronomical wisdom was never intended merely for theoretical understanding, but for transforming consciousness and aligning human life with cosmic intelligence. The first practical application involves developing stellar awareness, the capacity to perceive and interpret the cosmic patterns that influence our lives. This begins with simply observing the night sky, reconnecting with the celestial bodies our ancestors knew intimately. Even in urban environments with limited visibility, astronomical apps can help restore this connection to cosmic cycles. The practice involves more than casual observation. Begin by identifying a specific celestial body, perhaps Venus, the morning star associated with Christ consciousness. Track its position over several weeks, noting how it appears in different phases, just as consciousness moves through cycles of revelation and concealment. Record your observations, not just of the planet's position, but of corresponding patterns in your thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances. As medieval philosopher Marsilio Ficino wrote, "The wise person looks up at the stars, not to predict external events, but to understand the corresponding movements within their own soul." This correlation between cosmic and psychological patterns forms the foundation of stellar awareness. A more advanced practice involves what the hermetic tradition called drawing down the stars, a meditative technique for internalizing specific celestial qualities. Find a quiet place where you can sit undisturbed. Close your eyes and visualize a particular star or constellation, perhaps Polaris, the North Star, which remains fixed while all other stars appear to revolve around it. Imagine this star sending its light directly into your consciousness. What qualities does it embody? Stability, guidance, constancy. Allow these qualities to permeate your awareness. Then bring attention to your heart center, feeling these stellar qualities anchoring within your being. Practice this with different celestial bodies, gradually developing an inner stellar map that mirrors the outer cosmos. The second practical application involves cultivating cosmic timing, the ability to recognize and align with natural rhythms and opportune moments. This begins with simple awareness of basic astronomical cycles, the lunar month, the solar year, the planetary movements visible to the naked eye. Create a personal calendar marking significant astronomical events, solstices, equinoxes, meteor showers, planetary alignments. Use these as opportunities for contemplation and symbolic understanding. The winter solstice, for instance, near which Christmas is celebrated, represents the rebirth of light from maximum darkness, a powerful symbol for spiritual awakening. Practice making decisions in alignment with these cosmic rhythms. As 12th century mystic Hildegard of Bingen advised, when choosing when to initiate important projects, consider not just practical factors but cosmic timing. Some moments carry energies that support particular kinds of action. This doesn't mean becoming superstitiously dependent on celestial signs, but rather developing sensitivity to the subtle currents of timing that flow through existence. A specific exercise for developing this sensitivity involves the practice of celestial breathing. For 7 consecutive evenings, spend 20 minutes at sunset in quiet meditation. As the sun disappears and the first stars become visible, synchronize your breath with this transition from day to night. Inhale the gathering darkness, exhale to welcome the emerging stars. Notice how this transitional time, neither fully day nor fully night, creates a particular quality of consciousness. Ancient traditions called this the blue hour and considered it especially conducive to receiving cosmic insight. Regular practice during this time strengthens your sensitivity to transitional moments in all areas of life. The third practical application involves symbolic astronomy. Learning to read the cosmic language that speaks through celestial patterns. This begins with studying the traditional meanings associated with stars, constellations, and planets across cultures. Resources like Richard Hinckley Allen's Star Names, Their Lore and Meaning provide rich cross-cultural material. Beyond intellectual study, develop direct symbolic engagement. Choose a constellation visible in the current season, perhaps Orion in winter or Cygnus in summer. Learn its associated mythology across different traditions. Then spend time observing it directly, allowing intuitive impressions to arise. How does this particular pattern of stars speak to your consciousness? What qualities or insights does it evoke? Record these impressions in a journal, creating your own living relationship with celestial symbols. As Carl Jung noted, the symbol is not an intellectual concept, but a living entity that communicates directly with the depths of the psyche. Through regular practice, you'll develop fluency in this cosmic symbolic language. A specific technique used in mystery traditions involved constellation embodiment. Stand beneath the night sky with arms extended. Physically align yourself with a particular constellation, positioning your body to mirror its shape. Maintain this position while breathing deeply, allowing your body to become a living expression of this cosmic pattern. Different constellations activate different energy patterns within the human form. The fourth practical application involves what ancient traditions called star family recognition, the discovery of your particular resonance with specific celestial bodies. The hermetic text Asclepius suggests each human soul has affinity with certain stars, which guide and protect that soul throughout its earthly journey. To discover these affinities, create a star meditation practice. On consecutive nights, focus on different prominent stars: Sirius, Vega, Antares, Aldebaran, Spica. For each, open yourself to receive its particular frequency or message. Notice which stellar energies feel most resonant, most like coming home to your consciousness. This isn't about astrological birth charts, but about direct resonance between your consciousness and cosmic intelligences. The stars that most strongly activate your awareness likely represent your primary star family, celestial energies with which your soul has particular affinity. Once identified, develop ongoing relationship with these stellar allies through regular contemplation, artistic expression, or creating a dedicated space in your home with symbols or colors that evoke their qualities. As the Sufi poet Rumi wrote, "Every being has been assigned a star. When your star is shining, feel confidence and follow it well." These practical applications represent modern adaptations of the stellar wisdom the Magi would have transmitted, making accessible in contemporary terms what was preserved in mystery schools for millennia. Through consistent practice, you can re-establish the living connection between human consciousness and cosmic intelligence that the visit of the Magi to the Christ child symbolically represents. We have journeyed far beyond the familiar nativity scene, exploring the profound astronomical wisdom that likely passed between the Magi and the Christ child in those mysterious days after their initial presentation of gifts. What emerges is not merely historical speculation, but a living body of knowledge that continues to offer illumination today, a cosmic heritage awaiting our recognition and participation. The story of the Magi following the star represents more than a picturesque element of Christmas tradition. It symbolizes humanity's perennial quest to understand our place in the cosmos and to align our consciousness with the greater patterns of existence. As astronomer Johannes Kepler wrote, after calculating the possible celestial conjunction that guided the Magi, "The language of God is written in mathematical patterns across the heavens. Our highest calling is to learn this language." Ooh, the wisdom transmitted by the Magi, astronomical knowledge, initiatory practices, symbolic understanding and prophetic timing, did not disappear, but was transformed and preserved in ways that continue to speak to us across the centuries. When we gaze at the night sky, something ancient and profound stirs within us, a remembrance of cosmic belonging that transcends our modern alienation. This stellar wisdom offers a path beyond the limitations of both rigid fundamentalism and empty materialism. It invites us to a living relationship with cosmic intelligence that is neither superstitious nor merely mechanical. As physicist Werner Heisenberg observed, "The first drink from the cup of natural science brings atheism, but at the bottom of the cup waits God." The astronomical knowledge of the Magi represents this deeper draught that reveals the intelligence permeating all existence. The child whom the Magi visited grew into the teacher who would say, "I am the light of the world," and also, "You are the light of the world." A profound recognition of how cosmic light manifests through awakened human consciousness. This understanding that humanity participates in the same light that shines from the stars represents the essential transmission that began with the Magi's visit. In rediscovering and practicing this stellar wisdom, we participate in a stream of knowledge that flows through history's most illuminated consciousness. We become contemporary Magi, reading the cosmic patterns and allowing their intelligence to guide our journey. We recognize, as did those ancient astronomer priests, that the greatest star is the one that awakens within human awareness when it aligns with cosmic truth. The Sufi mystic Ibn Arabi expressed this recognition. The cosmos itself is a vast Quran, written in the ink of stars across the parchment of space. The human heart that awakens becomes a mirror reflecting this cosmic script. This mirroring, this alignment between inner and outer cosmos, represents the ultimate fruition of the wisdom the Magi both followed and transmitted. As you continue your own journey of cosmic awakening, remember that you walk a path illuminated by the same stars that guided the Magi. The celestial patterns they read with such precision continue to shine above us. The cosmic intelligence they recognized continues to pulse through existence. The initiatory practices they preserved continue to transform consciousness. In the silent moments between your thoughts, in the quiet contemplation of the night sky, in the recognition of patterns that connect all levels of existence, here the living transmission that began with the Magi's visit continues. For in the deepest sense, we are all still gathered around that singular birth, witnessing the emergence of cosmic light in human form and receiving the wisdom written in stars. If these explorations have ignited a spark of recognition within you, continue to nurture this flame of cosmic awareness. Join our community of seekers dedicated to recovering the stellar wisdom that connects all spiritual traditions at their esoteric core. Together, we can relearn the language of light that our ancestors spoke with such fluency and that continues to illuminate the path of awakening for all who have eyes to see.